tradition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say is even harder to find.
All things real estate. What's going on, guys?
Everything, man. It's a great day in real estate.
Have we ever started a podcast without laughing hysterically?
No, we love our jobs. It's not even a job, is it? Is it a passion? And
it's a passion.
I work with some of my best buds. You guys are like family to me. I really love that.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Love Fest is over. I'm going to jump right in.
We're going to need that in writing and...
You're recording it, so it's on record.
Exactly. I'm going to jump right into stats.
Let's do it. Let's
Same
go.
Different week.
Absolutely.
Right?
Real.
607 homes on the market. 607 single-family homes on the market. About 280 condos and townhomes. Sellers are on strike, right? I mean, we got the Screen Actors Guild. They're on strike. The actors are on strike. The city of San Jose just agreed to go on strike. I hear Santa Clara County workers are going on strike, and sellers
Everybody
are on strike.
More money?
Yeah.
I have a question.
But sellers can get more money right now if they just...
They can, but they're striking because they don't want to get out of
those interest rates.
Where can you transfer your property taxes to if you sell in Santa Clara County? Is it anywhere in California or anywhere in the United States?
Anywhere in California if you meet the criteria.
Perfect.
Prop 19.
Prop 19, that's right.
So
how do you enact Prop 19?
Yeah.
That's right. Not Prop 60, Prop 90 is gone.
And is that determined? Is that determined by different counties in California?
Listen, let's back up a second. You got to be 55 years or older, right? And there is a requirement that it's the basis up to $1 million in addition to the basis that you can actually transfer.
Can you break that down for dummies?
So what that means is if you bought a property and your basis was $500,000 on the property you purchased.
Basis
being the amount of money you bought it for. Okay? Thought I said that.
We said dummies. And you said basis.
Okay.
The average person doesn't know basis.
So when you buy a property, you pay $500,000 for it, becomes your basis. So when you sell that property, and here's a challenge, if you sell it for $2 million, you're only going to get the basis plus $1 million worth of value to be able to transfer it to. So the challenge becomes is if you happen to buy a $2 million piece of property, only $1.5 million of that would be retained as your original tax property basis.
Which is still a great deal.
Hell yeah. But you would be paying on the variance of $500,000, you would be paying
that 1.5% or what it is.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is there a certain loophole? And the reason why I'm asking this, I had clients selling their home here, move in and transfer into Rockland. They had kids on the title with them. They had to take the kids off a title.
That's a whole separate issue
to get the property taxes.
Yeah,
so is there a loophole to then re-add someone on title after you close and they take over the property tax?
It's not a loophole. You just add them.
Quick claim it.
And they take over the property tax.
Yeah. Well, wait.
That's my question.
And then the parents come off of
Well, no. So So how would that work then? So if they stay on it, kids are on it. What if the parents pass away?
You know what? We know enough to be dangerous. That's where they would talk to their financial advisor, and they'd be more than happy to let them know all those issues. But yes, you can add and remove anybody off of property all day long. It's just what are the ramifications that it's going to create? What potential tax events and those things for both individuals.
Yeah, you can't just do it willy-nilly in order to...
Well, that's what we're curious about. So, like, if the parents pass away, knock on wood, never happens, property taxes don't just transfer to the kids on title, right?
Well, it's really interesting you mentioned that because I have several situations now where we have, like, a grandparent wanting to give it to a grandchild or a brother giving it to a sister or a sibling. My understanding is that it could only go from a parent to a child.
Okay.
Transfer.
Okay.
And there's a lot of other issues with this Prop 19 where, they pushed it forward because there was another proposition that got denied, right? And one of the underlines with this, we've talked about it before on the podcast, is the only way, so it was before, I'm all over the place now, with a stepped up basis scenario, right? Well, here's the issue right now. It used to be that the beneficiaries of an estate would inherit the original property tax basis. So if mom and dad bought that house for $50,000 today, they pass away, it's now worth $2 million, it would not be reassessed, okay? Now, the only way it would not be reassessed is if the children or the beneficiaries moved into that house and made it their primary residence.
Yep.
That might be a possibility on a residential property. However, what if the parents owned a shopping center?
Yeah.
You can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So then that shopping center gets reassessed for the full value. So it might have gone from a $500,000 valuation to $5 million, and now you got a huge amount of property tax reassessment. Where who pays that? Most of those shopping centers are on a triple net lease. that falls down to the tenants, who has to increase their prices. It falls down to their consumer.
So one of the questions I had this week from a client was what are the things that can trigger in a reassessment? So oftentimes when you're driving, you'll notice residential homes have a wall or two left because they're trying to not get reassessed, right?
Because they're trying to keep it as a remodel. Not
So
a new
can you
build.
guys go through some of the list of things that could trigger it?
I mean, one of the things that trigger it is when you add square footage to a property.
Okay.
Right? That's an easy one.
That's the reason why some people don't do permits. And the interesting, I know you could go deeper on this about how the tax assessor's office will show you square footage, but not all that square footage might be permanent, might not be permitted.
And would that ever come back to, not to go off topic, would that ever come back to haunt a seller if they didn't
course.
have them permitted? Would they get back taxed?
I don't think they go after them retroactively, but I'm not opposed to doing some work cosmetically on properties without permits using a licensed handyman or something like that. But anytime a client wants to add square footage or change the bedroom bathroom count, I recommend permits.
Totally.
Absolutely.
I think the second you start adding things, any structural items is a big red flag, right? Like to change a light or to do flooring without a permit, you should probably do
and
it.
here's the challenge with the question you posed, right? There's no common ground from county to county. It's generally up to the assessor who makes the decision if they're going to reassess.
And
because
each
of
county has
transfer.
their own assessor.
Yes.
Yes, correct. And it's also what's standard to that area. So, like for instance, if we go up into our area in the mountains, Felton, Boulder Creek, it's very common for somebody might have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath 50 years ago. Now it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath.
Yeah.
And it's common to that area, so people don't look at it as if it was right here in Los Gatos in the flat area. And that becomes much more of a problem.
Yeah, and it can also be risky from an insurance perspective. Say you add a unpermitted ADU on your property and it catches fire and
Right.
burns your house down.
Right.
You think your insurance company is going to cover your house because you allowed an unpermitted structure to catch fire? Probably not.
Don't say that.
Fire sale, literally. But it is something to really be aware of as a buyer or as agents. We always pull a property profile, or you look at MLS and it might say 3,000 square feet. And you might even look at the property profile where the county records show 3,000 square feet. That's not an indication that it's fully permitted. The assumption it's fully permitted, but again, the assessor's office just wants their tax money. So if they see 3,000 square feet there, they're going to do it regardless if it's permitted or not.
Yeah, but City of San Jose, who manages the permits and the permitting process, may have a completely different record
100%.
of what the house makeup is.
So that's the reason why you need an experienced agent and who you work with matters.
So what else can trigger a reassessment?
Any transfer whatsoever.
Any transfer.
Any transfer, any whatsoever. Adding on, like what Ben was saying earlier, putting kids back on a title.
You
But
gotta
the
be
reason
careful.
people leave 1 or 2 walls is to avoid getting reassessed, right?
Not necessarily
Isn't it for
reassessed,
the
because you're
new
going to be you potentially be reassessed for the value of any remodel.
Yeah.
Period. Right. Anytime there's a permit and you're out there for the world to see, that's a reassessment opportunity for the county.
But
Right?
the process is typically faster on a remodel versus a new build.
Correct. That's why you'll see, like in Los Gatos, you have to keep in a lot of situations 51% of the original structure. That's why you'll go by and you'll see, why are they keeping the front facade and the side of it? Because that's how they were able to consider it a remodel. So, for instance, we have an area, you guys know Blossom Hill Manor, right? So not all Blossom Hill Manor is actually county property, the majority of it. It's not Los Gatos, the town of Los Gatos. The challenge is you get different services. So basically the sheriff would respond instead of the town of Los Gatos. So the town has a scenario where if you do a rebuild, it automatically will be annexed into the town of Los Gatos. But which means you're at the mercy of their building department, planning department, and everything else. Whereas if you do a remodel, they'll keep it in the county. So that's why you'll see
Most people want to be in the county. It's a little bit.
it's
There's
interesting.
pros and cons to both.
I'm doing a remodel in the county right now, and it is more of a pain in the. We submitted for a remodel in November. We are still waiting for our permits.
So you said 51% of
It depends
walls-
on the jurisdiction.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So like off Jacob over here, over in
random.
Cambrian, you can drive by it. It's a corner lot. The only thing that is standing are 2 bathroom walls.
Yeah.
Could
Just
be
2 bathroom
Could
walls.
be.
It's hilarious.
I know we had to pull back on our remodel because we were in my situation. It's either 47% or 52% or whatever. We actually had to pull down what we thought was a remodel to where we were like 3% over the requirement, 55%, let's say. We had to bring that number down to where they didn't consider us a new build. And then you have a whole bunch of new construction. Like we're grandfathered in where we don't have to put in fire sprinklers.
Oh, I was gonna
Where if we
ask
got
you.
pushed, we'd have to put in fire extinguishers.
So the other crazy thing that I don't know if you guys have noticed for new builds is that there's no more chimneys.
What about this?
Well, no
There's
chimney,
no
no
gas.
gas,
Yeah.
no natural
You can't even
gas.
get propane.
So you
Everything
see
has
these
to be electric.
beautiful estates, you see a super nice stove, and then you're like, it's electric.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get that
I know.
at all. We went through that with our that was the other reason why we want to be a remodel, not a build, because on a build you can't even have a propane tank. Everything has to be electric.
Is that for fire? Like, what
No,
is
it's
their
because
reason?
environmentally they want
Yeah.
efficiency.
Speaking
So
of Los Gatos,
ahead.
since Mark, you're like the unofficial mayor of Los
Ah,
Gatos, I want to get your opinion on
too many
this.
skeletons in my closet to run for that position.
State of California is requiring that Los Gatos build 2,000 homes in the next 8 years.
I think it's 8,000 homes, but let's keep it at 2,000.
the 2040 general plan is 7,800, but
Okay.
state mandate 1,993 homes by 2031.
Yep.
So where are they going
Where
to
are they going to put them all? Dude, I'm trying to do a project right now that would add 3 homes. Actually, there's one existing house that would add 2 additional homes. And the problem that people have with it, you're right, the town has that, and if they don't do it, they lose their federal funding, right?
Yeah, and then builders can come in and call builder's remedy,
And
which
we
cuts
are-
through red tape and basically forces, allows them to build.
The problem with it is it's the NIMBYs, right? Not in my backyard. So just in our situation, we have one neighbor who is complaining that they don't want to see this project built of 3 homes on 3 legitimate lots. And to your point, builder remedy, SB 330, is where the state takes over. We can go to a developer and say, you know what, let's do a high rise or a high-end luxury
density,
townhome,
yeah.
high density, where we're going to put 42 units in there. We'll go ahead and give you 5 of them as affordable housing. And guess what? The city can't say crap. Now, there are issues with environmental fire and slope and stuff like that, but that's how a lot of builders right now are switching
Forcing through
gears on
projects,
SB
yeah.
330.
Los Gatos has those 2 projects, one right off of Asona,
Yeah.
and then the other one is directly off of Highway 17.
Yeah, well, what about the post
Right
office? You know, there's a big thing in
I
the post office
saw
in
that.
town, and the whole reason why the developer pushed a 5-story, he knows he's not going to get 5 stories, but hey, if he gets 2 or 3, it's a home run, right? And everybody wants to complain
so
about
funny.
it. It's don't get me started on that subject, but thanks for asking.
good
But
stuff.
you're right. Where are they going to put 1,800 units?
Vasona Lake, fill the lake.
Just screw the water.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't fish in there anyway. All right. Well, moving on. I know a lot of times on our podcast we kind of like to toot our own horn and talk about how we're experienced and we think we're the best, which is cool. But it's always
We know we're
nice.
the best, but that's okay.
It's always nice to be acknowledged by other entities.
Ah, yes, there you
especially ones with great name recognition, like the Wall Street, Journal. So,
And the Wolf of Wall Street.
and anyway, I'm proud. Oh, here we go. All right, just let me know when you're done.
All right, go ahead.
Mark and I obviously had a vision, built a team, a small group of individuals to really go out there, kick ass and provide, exceptional service for our clients, and to be recognized by the Wall Street Journal as one of the
Very cool.
top 1.5% of all realtors teams nationwide through Real Trends, which is the one organization I actually, respect or follow the trends because they're on top of everything. So, as seen in the Wall Street Journal, VKG Real Estate Group is top 1.5% in the nation. So, gentlemen, congratulations.
Round of applause. There
All right.
There we go. Cool.
And enough about us.
2, 3.
So I want to throw something out there, and actually Ben had the opportunity to be part of this conversation. Prior to COVID, we were doing our emerging markets, wealth building seminars, and COVID kind of sidetracked things a little bit, simply because we couldn't fly to some of those different areas and experience and identify new emerging markets. And it's something we need to do, and we're going to be doing that for all our listeners out there. And just as an example of how or what the huge benefit of that is we had a client call us. We managed their property under our sister company, Forbes Group. It's a project in Campbell. They got 4 townhomes on there, a duplex. It's about maybe 3/4 of an acre or so. Old property. The guy's got to look at replacing roofs, plumbing, all this stuff. We're talking his net income on that property is approximately $50,000. That's what his net is. A year, per year. That's what his net is, right? The property's worth about $4 million. So the conversation was, and it was a very easy conversation.
It was a very good conversation.
It's like, Randy, you're only making $50,000 on this thing. You got challenges with all your tenants. It's multi-res, all that stuff. You got some deferred maintenance there that has to happen. We can sell it right now as is for $4 million. Take that $4 million, put it into one of the triple net deals that we deal with all the time, Dollar General, Sonic Burger, whatever. Get them
DeVito,
a
whatever it
corporate
is, yeah.
mailbox money guaranteed lease for 15 years on a brand new build, and we can easily go 3, 4, 5 times what you're netting now. And it's a gift, I think, that we want to continue to push out to our clients to educate them on that. You don't have to be burdened with a headache factor of these multi-res that either you inherited or you built yourself. And at some point, anyways, my whole point with that is I know it's something we're all passionate about, and I want to get back to getting those seminars going. So as our consumers are listening, it's all coming soon. Just watch out for those.
We'll be back at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question from one of my, well, it's not even a buyer, will be a buyer. But like you said, Forbes Group's our side company, have renters inside. What would be, if you were renting a property, how do you bring up to your landlord that you want to purchase that property?
You just tell them, hey, if you're ever thinking about selling.
But like, what is the correct way to go about that? Is it talk? Is it?
This is somebody you know. I would contact if I was your friend, Ben. I'd contact my real estate agent, who's Ben, and I would say, hey, Ben, would you reach out to my landlord?
But if this person could be potentially Ben, I would contact someone on this team, and maybe we can help you through that.
No, I mean, obviously it's a thought of mine too. But this did come up this week, renting a property over here in Campbell,
right?
And they said, we've been here for a while. The tenant or the landlord really likes us. Like, is there ever a potential to lease to own?
I always just say lease to own.
lease to
Just
own is
write the contract.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think they knew the true definition of lease to own in the first place. Because for them, when it sounds like lease to own, it sounds like you're just going to lease and then you'll buy it out.
Well, I can tell you this, as I would never, I guess this is going out on the air, right? I would never advise a owner to do a lease to own. Only because I have never seen a situation.
Can you explain what a lease to own is?
A lease to own is where the tenant is going to make an agreement that there's going to be a deal made. It'll be a lease option agreement, basically, where there's a deal that the tenant and the landlord make, that they basically say, hey, we're going to negotiate our price now. It might be fair market value 5 years down the road, whatever it is. Market rent's $3,000. I'm going to give you $4,000 and maybe some money up front to be able to buy the option. But I'm going to pay you some more money above fair market value, and that money will go towards the purchase of the property when we exercise the lease to own. Personally, the reason why I made the comment, I don't advise them from a seller or an owner's perspective, is that means the owner's locking up that property. They have now given the right to the tenant. Well, first off, the tenant has a leasehold estate, right? So they have rights there. But with that option, now that tenant has, the seller can't sell it. It has to be, they could sell it, but it would be subject to that option. So anybody who buys it is going to have to honor that option moving forward. That's my challenge with it. Now, if from a buyer standpoint you can convince a seller, and there might be reasons why a seller would do it, it could a tax shelter type of scenario or something, or estate down the road, but that's basically what it is. Okay. I know, David, you have a little bit of experience on this. What's your thoughts?
I was actually thinking a little bit about seller financing and the benefits of that. But yeah, I'm with you. Anything, when our clients come to us, anything that's going to limit their options down the road, I just tell them to tread lightly.
Yeah,
right?
Especially with the seller side of it. But to answer your question, how would you go about talking to your landlord about purchasing the property? I think you just pick up the phone and have that conversation. We love the property, and maybe you can negotiate a first right of refusal or a first right to offer. That would give you the right that if the seller decided or the owner decided to sell the property, they have to come to you first. Do something like that.
Yeah.
And you never know. Listen, stuff happens. Life happens, right? You might hit that seller at the right time to where it's...
Well, and that's what I was telling too. I was like, they can always 1031 exchange that property as well. If it's been a rent, if you've been in it for so long.
As we know, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. If I was a client of this team and I heard them talk about the wealth building seminar, then I would say, hey, Ben is my agent. Can you look into this house, see how much money the seller owes? Here's what it cash flows or doesn't cash flow. Could you provide me with some options, or would you be willing to meet with him to show him some options where if he sold it to me and then he took that money, did a 1031 exchange into a triple net property or something else, how he would increase his cash flow and allow me to purchase a property, right? So don't just ask a question, but have some options and solutions available.
I would also recommend, in addition to picking up the phone, put it in writing. So God forbid when the owners the owners pass away, there's some document there that maybe the trustees might come across and saying, hey, the tenants are interested in buying the property. But make it known. Absolutely. Don't keep your head in the sand about it.
Great.
Wow, great information today.
This is hot.
I had some.
Looks like Jeep brought something.
What's up, Jeep?
I had some
show and tell.
stats from last year's peak of the market to now, and we are still down about 10%. So
Countywide, citywide,
countywide.
In sales price, what? What are we
median
down?
price point.
Median
So
price
median
point.
price
Median
point
price.
April 2022 was 1.65 million, and right now in July 2023 we are at 1.5 million across Santa Clara
I find
County.
that hard to believe.
Well,
right?
there's
But
a
it's-
difference between median and average price.
Yeah.
Average price is much closer. The difference isn't 9 or 10%.
And is that single family homes or the whole inventory?
It's a
Single-family
whole
townhome?
inventory.
See, that makes a little more sense because you're grouping in townhomes, condos, which I
Condos.
think have had a harder time to rebound.
Well, we were just talking about that before you walked in. Even if the market is down 10%, where we are at compared to where we were last year, we're still upwards trending. So obviously, market's down 10%.
But
yes.
again, as always,
But now,
it depends on location and the product, right?
Absolutely.
that it depends. Again, that's the media and the news. It's again countrywide. It depends on where you're at. You could be in Santa Clara County in two different places in Santa Clara County and be in completely ends of the spectrum.
Be two different places in San Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Los Gatos.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
100%.
The mountains versus in town.
100%.
So
Absolutely.
Well, did Jeet have some more?
One
bits?
more.
Oh, go ahead.
So-
Let him have his spotlight.
please?
Gosh.
So
Guy gets a haircut
another
This
data
better
point
be
was the inventory levels, right? So the rate of new inventory that was coming up in 2021 July was about 450 new listings every month, whereas now it's about 238. So that's a 50% decrease. That's why the rate of new homes coming up is also lower, but then the rate of absorption is pretty high, which is why we're in a low inventory market. And then I have some myths, but go on, Aaron.
please take us away.
So buying is always better than renting. Like
100%.
that
Although I think Eric. Oh, look at.
I don't know.
Here we go. Get the boxing gloves out.
that
yeah.
is a. I would say it
But you have to
depends.
say why you think that.
Yeah.
That's a myth.
Well, no, he.
I would say because it depends.
Oh,
This is a good
because you
table
said-
conversation.
Yeah, it
Bring it
is.
around.
I don't think it's myth. I think you should always buy. You should always own.
It depends on. I mean, if you're buying for the long term, 5 to 7 plus years,
Okay.
that's when it makes sense.
I
I
would-
would say. If
Can you let him
Great
finish?
I had a buyer that I did a consultation with last week. He's like, I will be in the Bay for the next 3 years. I want to buy a property. I was like, it does not make sense because we don't know what the market will do in the near future.
enough.
As long as you're open to the risks that the market would provide and the market would bring in the next 3 years, like the volatility that we may come across, as long as you know the risks involved, that's when you should purchase. But my advice would be to buy for at least 7 plus years. So the home that you're in, long term, is the solution.
I agree with Jeet. Long term.
Gee. Any thoughts?
Well, I
Comments?
feel I do agree with you. I just feel like with the level of inventory we're at now, and again, we said this before the podcast, how does a market not go up in 3 years? Do we not see an increase in inventory in the next 3 years? Just
Well, if
personal
you see an
thought.
increase in inventory, the market's going to go down.
Increase in inventory and lower interest rates, I see the market going way up.
Depends on jobs.
If there's more opportunities out there for buyers to pick them up, your values are not going to be as high as they are today.
So I had 14
bet.
offers today on Rhine Castle.
How many?
14.
14.
By the way, the house 6 doors down sold for 1,775, and we are going to be pending over $2 million.
Who you work with matters.
And I would say that this is a very normal Almaden, cute little ranch home with a pool in the backyard. But if we had double the amount of inventory, I would say that that house is probably closer to 1.6, 1.7. Not double, but maybe the inventory levels that we saw in 19 or 20,
Yeah.
Okay.
right? I mean, 700
What were
single
the schools
families.
on that?
Pioneer.
And the
Good job,
interesting
job.
thing is the comp that sold for 1,775 is also 200 square feet larger than
And
yours.
it was newer.
Well, there you go.
Good job.
Yeah, as far as
crazy.
renting is always better than buying. I mean, I just read an article today that San Jose Bay Area region is the worst in the nation for cost to rent versus cost to own. And so I get somebody wants a nice house and they don't want to pay $3 or $4 million for it. Why not rent it for
I rent for 10 grand, and the house that I rent is probably close to 4.
Well, I'm just
yeah.
sure.
That's a $38,000 a month mortgage after you put 800,000 down.
If you continue to rent here, do you feel like it's smart to start looking for investments for yourself in other
No,
areas?
because I just bought a house in Mountain View for 1.5 and sold it for 2.3.
So let me go back 5 years.
Okay, some people can't just flip homes. Though.
Why? They could
Because
put
they don't have
800,000 down.
1.5 to put down.
5 years ago, that house you're living in now, what was it worth? 5 years ago.
5 years ago,
Just throw out a
probably
number.
2.5.
Yeah, I was
2.5.
gonna say
2.5. And what's it worth today?
3.5.
$1 million in 5 years. So you not think that if you bought it 5 years ago would have been a good
But 5
purchase
years
instead of
ago,
renting
I
it?
didn't have 20% of 2.5. I didn't have the income for that.
Listen, if you could only afford a 1,500 square foot house if you bought it, and
But I
you just
refused.
have to have a 3,000 square foot home,
Yeah.
the only way you're going to have it is by renting it. That I agree.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if it's the best
I'm
investment
ver-
strategy, but
It's definitely not, but it makes me feel good.
hey, whatever makes you feel good.
And life is short.
Anything else, Mark?
Yeah, no. Other than I want to invite all of our listeners to our next podcast, which will be live at Double D's.
Oh,
I want to
real?
invite our audience to come in person. We'll buy them a drink and to start shooting out some rapid fire questions to us because we'll be doing it to ourselves.
And what's the date on that?
I have no clue, but we will be sure to let everybody know.
But that aside, we've got Jazz on the Plaza
so many
coming
things.
up. We
Summer
got
fun.
Music in the Park every Sunday. And for our clients, we have Casino Night coming in September.
September 22nd.
Sounds
I
good
think
to
that's
me.
what it
It
is.
is, that's
Absolutely. We also have the Taste of Art and Food and Wine at Montavo.
Yes.
That is going to be coming up in September too. So no,
Lot going
no lack
on.
of fun.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Hero Ranch.
Is it?
Well, there you go.
All right.
I'll be there.
So as always, if you need to buy, sell, or invest, or just want to talk about real estate,
Give us a call.
reach out to one of us. We'd love to connect with you. All right. Till next time, guys. Take care.